Last thing I want to touch on is Danielle Smith, the premier of Alberta. Okay. Now, let me do a screen share and let's touch on this before I get out of here. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about. Now, Danielle Smith caused some controversy this week after refusing to sign off on a joint statement from the other premiers and the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that every countermeasure is on the table against the 25% tariffs that Trump is threatening to put on Canadian goods. Okay. Now, what they want to do is cut the energy off going south of the border into the United States. Danielle Smith won't tolerate cutting off energy supply to the U.S. or export tariffs on the province energy from Ottawa. She quotes, "We just won't stand for that," she said on Monday at a news conference to provide an update on her face-to-face meeting with Donald Trump at the Mar-a-Lago resort where she went to meet with him. She warned that it would have a national unity crisis on its hand at the same time as having a crisis with the U.S. Any kind of retaliation that we do on tariffs hurts Canadians, she said. I'm hoping that by talking about the importance of energy, that we'll be able to avoid tariffs on every Canadian product. The federal government says it is prepared to hit the U.S. with billions of dollars in retaliatory tariffs and has already sent multiple ministers to Washington this week, including Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly. Now, there is some consequence to doing this. Like, here's the thing. If she signs off on this as well, and Donald Trump gets into office on January 20th, probably by the time you're hearing this podcast, and he decides to go elsewhere for oil at this point, that would cripple the economy and the market for people in Alberta who work in this industry. That's where a large majority of the oil comes from in Canada. The far large majority of oil comes from out in Alberta, and people are out there working on those rigs. She also has a job to look out for the people of Alberta. And now people are slandering her and saying, you know, she's a traitor and all these other things. She wasn't the prime minister for the last decade. That would be Justin Trudeau. So from my estimation, this is not her fault. That would be his. And now we're going to make it seem like she's the problem. Now, don't get me wrong. Canada's going to have to find a way to do something, because if those tariffs, if he's serious about them, they're going to have to find out what they're going to do. Now, what I would do personally is what she did. Go to Mar-a-Lago, talk to the man, try to cultivate a relationship, and then see what that turns into. But to just say that you're going to be slapping retaliatory tariffs and getting to some type of tariff war with the U.S., I don't think this is going to be good for either side. It's going to hurt both sides. And somebody's going to have to figure out a way. First of all, when all these premiers were amongst each other and having a meeting with Trudeau, why the hell didn't they all just come together and demand a damn election immediately right now? Immediately. Because right now, yes, I understand that they were all together and that they're still listening to Justin Trudeau. But you have Trump coming into office, and then you're still listening to a guy like Trudeau, who we know that within 2 months is not going to be the prime minister anymore. Whether it's another liberal candidate, which it will be to start off, and then hopefully an election will be triggered by the Bloc Québécois, the Conservatives, and the NDP, which is hopefully before June. So why they just didn't demand that there's an election now so that we can have a functioning government to go across the border and speak to Trump is beyond me.